giving his acceptance speech, not much has been said about in terms of reconciliation and development because he's just starting his speech. That is the situation right now. In terms of security, everywhere is peaceful.
We learned earlier in the day there were protests by some persons in Yenagoa town. How have the security agencies been able to calm the situation?
Yes, I can give you an eyewitness account because I was also a victim of those that were attacked. I have to run into a shop by the roadside from where I peeped when they were trying to vandalize some facilities, especially in Radio Bielsa. But about 5 minutes later, we saw heavy deployment of security personnel, the military and police, and some persons were also arrested. So, but after that, not much has been heard about disturbance in the disturbance of peace in the state.
The swearing in of the governor and deputy governor-elect. Now, following the eruption of protests in parts of Yenagoa metropolis, the Bayelsa State Police Command has warned perpetrators of violence to desist or face the wrath of the law if caught. The force made this known during an on-the-spot visit to the High Court premises where some persons had set ablaze the generator house of the court. Timinipri Oha completes the report.
Following the Supreme Court's judgment on Thursday nullifying the election of the joint ticket of David Lyon and Senator Degi Bio Barakuma Eremeyo on grounds of false information to INEC on aid of his application for the November 16 governorship election in Bayelsa State, some party supporters took to the streets. This brought chaos in the state's capital, leading to the destruction of government property, such as the High Court, PDP Secretariat, generator houses that were set ablaze, the timely intervention of staff of the High Courts, the military, and the fire service saved the property from destruction. The Commissioner of Police, Bayelsa State, Uche Anozie, warned that those caught perpetrating the act would be dealt with. He further noted that men and officers of the Nigerian police were deployed to areas prone to violence to ensure maintenance of law and order.
The rest of security agencies here in Yenagoa, you can see me on the ground myself. We are going around and ensuring that law and order will not be compromised. Those of them who have perpetrated this kind of crime, we have to get them arrested and prosecute them in line with the law of the land.
The movement of the mob, which also vandalized property at the state radio station, has been brought under control. In Yenagoa, Timinipri Ohia, NTA News.
And away from Yenagoa, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory is to dedicate 12 of its courts to financial crimes. Chief Judge of the FCT High Court, Justice Ishaq Bello, announced this while receiving the board of the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission. Femi Okewu brings us the story.
Since 2018, the FCT judiciary had set up a committee to declog the court of the large number of cases which had been pending in its courts. While that has largely succeeded, a high number of financial crime cases have continued to flood into the court. The Chief Judge of the FCT High Court therefore thinks that something drastic needs to be done to assist in determining these matters as a way of helping government in the fight against corruption. He, however, called on the prosecuting agencies of financial crimes to be more diligent with the prosecution of their cases.
Now, what we will need in a situation like that is immediate training, particularly on areas of a feature, which is very paramount to your mandate. Yes, sir. And crucial to the nation.
Chairman of the ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasanwoye, said his organization has put in place a number of steps which will ensure a more thorough approach to the execution of its mandate.
I will create a platform, at least before it leads to any enforcement action, to share this insight with heads of court, because I believe people will take remedial measures.
In Abuja, Femi Okewu, NTA News.
And in a bid to galvanize support to effectively tackle the menace of corruption, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission embarked on a roadwalk with diverse groups to raise awareness on the ills of corruption. Rosemary Moteleng Bilal has the details.
Dignitaries in the early hours of the day embark on the walk aimed at raising awareness against the hills of corruption, which began from the EFCC Abuja Zonal Office through Unity Fountain to the police force headquarters, where the public was addressed.
The youth of this country have one single message. We have had enough of corruption. They say we are dedicated to join the EFCC and other institutions to fight and stop corruption. That is the essence of the march today.
Today, I stand on behalf of all women of Nigeria in full solidarity with the Minister of Youth and Sports, the Chairman EFCC, in solidarity for the great efforts of Mr. President to fight corruption in Nigeria.
Youth will not have a future in this country if we don't address the issue of corruption.
Speaking at the event, EFCC Acting Chairman Ibrahim Magu said the anti-graft agency set aside the Valentine's Day to engage the youth and sensitize them on the fight against corruption.
Now, joining me in the studio is a public affairs analyst, Ibrahim Modubu, to share his line of thoughts on the war against corruption in Nigeria. Welcome to NTA International Studios.
Thank you.
Now, with this collaboration initiated by the EFCC, how can it be sustained?
Well, you know, for a very long time, this country has been buckled under the full weight of ravenous and greedy political class. Things were moving from sublime to ridiculous, where issues tend to move in such a manner that iniquity and mediocrity ruled. We are in a nation where there was a lack of honest, transparent, and sincere approach to governance. And a nation where we've seen the practitioners of democracy, or better still, flat-footed Democrats, whose sole aim was just to capture power, not knowing what to do with it, but only to converge on the economy, and also to correctly enrich themselves and immediate members. If you look at the country as it is today, the issue of corruption has been it has assumed a very terrible dimension, because for a very long time, it has been a cankerworm that has eaten deep into the roots and fibers of the society. Now, here we have a government that says, look, business can no longer be as usual. And therefore, the president, in his magnanimous thinking, has decided to bring in Ibrahim Magu, a very wonderful forensic expert, a police detective par excellence, who has been able to prove his mettle in the Committee of Nations by trying to tackle corruption head on. He has done very well. Whether we like it today or not, just like Mr. President, Magu is never a corrupt person, and he abhors corruption and has been able to fight it throughout his stay in the last 4 years in this government, under this government. Now, this government has been able to get a sense of direction in trying to fight corruption. And therefore, the nation should cue in to the philosophies and thinkings of Mr. President. Mr. President had wanted Nigeria to be among Committee of Nations where corruption should not be a focal point, where people should act according to the dictates of civilization, and also where people should look at governance from the viewpoint of aggregating themselves to the wins and caprices of the people.
Now, our leaders have over time been those that have been leading the fight against corruption. The youths have now been brought in to serve as agents of change and also as mentors. Now, regarding the mileage that has been covered so far on the corruption, what's your take on the whole fight in Nigeria?
Well, the fight of corruption has been a continuous one. It has taken a very, I think I'm very proud to be associated with the fight against corruption in this country, because I can see that within a very short time, we are going to be whipped to be in line. Because if you look at today, wherever Mr. President goes, everywhere in the world, he has been hailed as a champion of anti-corruption. He has been hailed as a Democrat par excellence who has been able to tame corruption to a very limited level. If you look at what corruption used to be before, It has shrunk now. People are crying today that there's no money. They are suffering. Why is it? Because the monies that used to flow into the pockets of these Democrats that had no connection with the masses is no longer there. And therefore, people must suffer because these are, as a consequence of corruption. Therefore, the youths, I want to implore you to toe into the line of the philosophy of the president.
Thank you very much, Modibo, for sharing your thoughts with us on the anti-corruption fight. Now, moving on, you're watching the news on NTA International. We will be back after this short break.
Thank you. Your information dey important, just like your identity. Now, the only way we fit take hala you. Make you go browse easy.gotvafrica.com. Sign in with your IUC number and mobile number and scroll down to personal details and address. Then check well to see say everything bam. You fit change the one we not correct. To finish everything, just click the save button and it don't finish.
Thank you.
I make sure say my phone number dey correct. That's now why GoTV fit call me make I come collect my own awoof.
Angel, time for my phone in that way because now my correct phone number dey for book.
GoTV, live it, love it.
Don't look me again, no. Make you go do your own.
The Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, cordially requests the honor of your esteemed presence at the unveiling of the Green Chamber magazine. Date, Wednesday, 19th February. Venue, National Assembly Complex. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Guest of honor, Senator Ahmed Lawan, President of the Senate. Chairman, Alhaji Aminu Masari, Executive Governor of Katsina State. Keynote speakers, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, Advocate of High Courts of Kenya and Tanganyika. Professor Magnus L. Pakol. This also serves as an invitation to all state governors, service chiefs, honorable ministers, heads of agencies, State House of Assembly speakers, and House of Representatives members. The Green Chamber magazine, telling our story, changing the narrative. RSVP 0805-885-2020.
Thank you for staying with us. 14 February this year is a date with history as the National Orientation Agency staged a work tagged Fall in Love with Nigeria. Kenneth Nanim reports that the agency is using the day to emphasize on collective responsibility of nation building.
This march is not a protest, but a work for patriotism championed by the National Orientation Agency to reawaken the spirit of nation building, especially for the youths on the special day of Valentine. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Areboshala, unveiled the Fall in Love with Nigeria campaign slogan.
Our love of other lands should therefore burn in our hearts as we celebrate this year's Valentine Day.
The promotion of peace and security is a task for every individual, and in the Nigerian context, the responsibility of every well-meaning citizen.
There is nothing more noble, patriotic, and an act of love other than the undying quest to promote and entrench the virtues of integrity, transparency, honesty, accountability, probity, and prudence.
The National Orientation Agency is also using the day to salute the gallantry of the Nigerian military in the fight against insurgency, as it honors the sacrifice of the fallen heroes.
I can categorically tell you again that our dear brothers, the fallen heroes, if they come back to life and they are asked whether they are to sacrifice their lives again for Nigeria, they will do that again and again.
Fall in love with Nigeria.
Kenneth Nan, NTA News.
Love, romance and affection are all feelings expressed by humans. The big question is, what has love got to do? What has love and its colors got to do with 14th of February? Elizabeth Omori will tell us the myth behind Valentine's Day and the essence of the day to mankind.
14th of February is celebrated annually as Valentine's Day, or Feast of Saint Valentine. It originated as a Western Christian feast by Pope Gelasius I in AD 496. The Catholic Church cherishes the Feast of Valentine. Going by stories, what is today known as Valentine is linked to the imprisonment of Saint Valentine of Terni, who performed weddings for soldiers who were forbidden to marry and killed by Emperor Claudius II. There are, however, different accounts of martyrdom, as another account have it that Valentine restored sight to the blind daughter of his judge and wrote her a letter signed by Valentine before his execution. Beyond the spiritual connotations, how do people interpret the day?
Love is actually self-giving. Love is friendship. Love is sacrifice. And love is joyful even when it's in pains and all of those. So we must understand what love is in order to express it better and not confuse it with the infatuations that come with it.
It's my great delight to share this very day with the persons with disability.
14th of February is characterized with two colors, red and white, which often reflect in clothes, accessories, confectionaries, gifts, cats, and of course, messages of love.
You tell me that you love me, baby. Why you say you don't? You love me, I love you, baby.
Our curiosity on the essence of the day led us to this lady in red, whom we followed to her destination. And guess where? A seminar on love for persons living with disabilities.
I'm so happy. Today is my first time in life of going out in a Valentine's Day.
As the world celebrates Valentine's Day, respondents are pointing out the need for genuine love and entrenchment of right values that advance development. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Now, from love, we move to labour matters. The impasse between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, may soon be resolved, as the House Committee on Public Service Matters has directed the Bureau of Public Service to wade into the crisis. The committee gave the directive during an oversight visit to the Bureau in Abuja. Adebola Brooksland-Sandy reports.
For some time now, there has been a disagreement between the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and the federal government over the need for members of the union to be captured in the Integrated Personnel Payroll Information System, IPPIS, an order the union said it will not obey. However, some members of ASU presented themselves for capturing when the federal government said they will not be paid if they are not enrolled. Chairman of the House Committee, Sani Bala, who led other members on the oversight visit, said the committee is not pleased with ASU's directive to its members not to enroll for what he called a noble policy which seeks to entrench accountability and fight corruption in the public service.
With the introduction of this IPPIS platform, we are very much happy with the result we are obtaining. It's a platform that has, helped the federal government in recovering a lot of money that have been siphoned.
Director General of the Bureau, Ibrahim Dasuki Arabi, said the Bureau will swing into action immediately for an amicable resolution of the disputes.
We are working with Office of Accountant General of the Federation and a group of civil society groups to see that we bring them together to a negotiating table to see that we avoid this strike that is looking at us in the purview. We have problem of inadequate skill.
The DG also took advantage of the meeting to solicit for increased budgetary allocation to the Bureau for enhanced service delivery to Nigerians. Adebola Brooksland-Sandy, NTA News.
And it's time for global news. Let's join Joyce Ometu.
Glad to have you join us on this segment of the news. The United Nations has warned of the danger of famine in East Africa if huge swarms of locusts are not brought under control. The insects have so far affected Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, is appealing for more funds for the aerial spraying to contain the problem in the next few weeks. In the meantime, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan have failed to reach an agreement on the filling up and operation of what will be Africa's biggest hydroelectric dam that is being built on River Nile. The latest round of talks held in Washington on Thursday by water ministers from the three countries ended without a deal. The three nations had last month agreed on an initial deal following talks mediated by the US and the World Bank that the Grand Renaissance Dam should be filled in stages during the rainy season. More negotiations was needed before the final agreement could be finalized this month. Meanwhile, Chinese officials have given figures for health workers infected with the coronavirus, now named COVID-19, amid concerns about shortages of protective equipment. 6 health workers have died and 1,716 have been infected since the outbreak, they said. And that ends this segment. Thanks for watching. I am Joyce Umetu.
And sports, it's next. Nigeria confirms base for its athletes at the Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo. Tamara Ibiwe tells us more on Sports Update.
Nigeria is leaving no stone unturned in its quest to prepare adequately for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, both in competitive and administrative aspects. Sports Minister Sunday Dare on Friday met with Ambassador of Japan to Nigeria, Kikuta Yutaka, where it was agreed that Kizarazu City in Japan will host Team Nigeria during the Games. In golf, the 2020 Ladies Open Golf Championships got underway Friday at the IBB International Golf and Country Club, Abuja. 150 golfers drawn from states across the Federation, Uganda, Mali and Ghana are participating in the 3-day competition, which is expected to end on Sunday. Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Pauline Talen, who teed off the event, charged them to compete without rancor.
Our team are doing very well, and I'm very hopeful that this time we will make it.
We were privileged to have the opportunity to host most of the countries that take part of our tournament.
In archery, the Nigeria Archery Federation has concluded a 5-day national training workshop for beginners and capacity building for intermediate archers at the Mogadishu Barracks in Abuja. 120 participants drawn from the armed forces and defense headquarters were taught modern techniques of the sport, as certificates were presented to outstanding archers.
If we keep up the training, then Nigeria will be the central podium of major international tournaments.
To football now, Southampton and Burnley clash in the English Premier League this Saturday in a Week 26 encounter at the St. Mary's Stadium. With Sports Update, Tamara Ibiwe, NTA News.
And that's a wrap on the news at this time on NTA International. Many thanks for watching. I am Lani Ali.
This is NTA International.
If you travel around the world, you will find out that there is no place like Nigeria. Beautiful, peaceful, very warm and friendly climate all year round.